everybody. Welcome back to the L.A.M.E Book Club podcast. I'm Ellie.
And I'm Melissa.
And today we are talking Iron Flame, which I'm so excited about.
I was very excited to talk about Fourth Wing. And I think even knowing, like even after initially reading Iron Flame,
Yeah.
I think I was still a little bit more excited to talk about Fourth Wing until I started putting together the outline. I think I forgot a lot of little nuances and everything. So I'm literally going to be rereading the book going through this.
I hate to say it, but as of this point in time, as we are recording, I have not yet finished Iron Flame. I'm a little over halfway through, but so far, if I may be so bold, I like it better than Fourth Wing.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. Initially after I finished it, I didn't think I liked it as much as Fourth Wing. I think Fourth Wing was just so different.
It really was.
I loved all of the world building and character building and everything that Rebecca Yarros did in it.
Mm-hmm.
So this just felt like obviously, I mean, literally it's a continuation, but then now digesting it, talking about it, well, not you because you haven't finished.
I know.
And now then going back even to the beginning and now going through it again, I've decided that I think I like Iron Flame more.
Oh, that's a good choice. So we are still a slightly newer podcast. We're still figuring things out. And we felt like Fourth Wing kind of went a little bit too quick. We didn't really get to go into the details. We were cramming half the book in one episode. So for this one, we are going to take it 10 chapters per episode. So it's going to last us a little longer.
I also, even with ACOTAR, I think we touched on all the major things. We had a lot of fun doing it. Yeah. Honestly, you could probably not even read the books and just listen to the episodes and have a general understanding of what happened. But even though it would have taken forever, I kind of even wish we did this, slowed it down with the ACOTAR series.
I miss ACOTAR. Let's go back and do it again.
Okay, guys, psych. We're starting over. Just kidding.
Could you imagine if it was just as soon as we're done,
just over and over again?
Yeah.
I think we could do better. Let's try again.
Okay.
That would be the worst.
I have a couple updates from the week that are personal to me that I thought I really should share on the podcast.
Please do. Those are the best.
They're two bad things. So number one, I had heartburn for the first time in my entire life. I thought I was going to die. I genuinely was this is a heart attack. Goodbye.
That's hilarious. Not really. That's sad. I'm sorry. But I didn't have heartburn for the first time until I was an adult too.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I felt it, I was like, what is this?
It just felt like tons of pressure and then it was fine. And then it was just in waves.
This is the weirdest pre-throw up I've ever had.
Yeah.
And until I explained it to Zeke, who has perpetual heartburn, and he goes, that sounds like indigestion.
Grant, I think, has never had anything ever wrong with him. He has no allergies. He has no problems. He has no anxiety. He's just a typical boy. He was like, that doesn't sound great. And then moved on. And I was like, I'm dying.
Sure,
the second thing,
sound great.
This happened just this morning and I absolutely have to talk about it. I was curling my eyelashes, as you do. And I hiccuped in the middle. And then clamped my eyelid so hard, I screamed. And Grant was like, what happened? I was like, and it swelled up and it was red, but it's fine. I applied the mascara and continued on as the brave soldier I am.
You deserve a Purple Heart.
God gives me his toughest battles.
God gives his toughest battles to his toughest soldiers.
But I'm fine.
But I persist. That's okay. I actually had a better ending than I was expecting. I really thought you were going to say you pulled out a clump of your eyelashes.
No, that would be so much worse because I'd have to live with that for a while.
Honestly.
Okay. We talked a little about it. Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes came out, which is relevant to this podcast because it is first and foremost a book. So how did you
loose ties, but agreed.
How'd you like it?
Okay, so I read about 30% of the book.
Yeah.
And I wanted to read the whole book before seeing the movie, but it wasn't opening weekend. I think it was the second weekend that it was out. And I just couldn't. I was like, everyone's talking about it. My family was going to see it that night. And the book was so good that I was like, I just need to watch the movie. So I didn't finish the book before seeing it.
Yeah.
Because of that, I gave the movie a 7.5 out of 10.
I gave it a 7 out of 10.
An 8 out of 10 felt too generous, but a 7 out of 10 didn't feel like enough. So that's kind of why I landed in the middle. I loved the movie. I feel like they did a good job. Of the 30% of the book that I read, they were like as accurate as you could be for a movie adaptation. So like I really appreciated that. Also, big fan of Tom Blythe.
Is he the one who plays
He's Snow?
It was hard looking away from the screen.
My guy. He was so really visually very good. Rachel Zegler's voice is phenomenal. Oh my gosh.
Wait, say the fun fact you know.
Oh yeah, I learned this afterwards. I have a friend, actually my sister-in-law and this friend have a podcast together. It's called Yours Truly. Go listen to it if you like pop culture. Lucy knows everything about pop culture. Lucy told me that Rachel Zegler did all of the songs live. Like as they were recording, that was actually her singing instead of obviously like singing during the filming, but then dubbing it with a recorded version.
Yeah.
All of that was her just in the moment.
That's
and
so
she
good.
wanted it to feel more authentic. I was like, that is so impressive. Also,
and she wasn't pitchy, which was so cool for being live.
Well, and she's still like, her acting didn't lack because of that.
It was good.
Exactly. Yeah. So good. But then also, Lucy told me that Rachel Zegler, the girl who plays Lucy Gray, in real life, she's dating the guy who plays Sejanus.
I hate that name. Sejanus. Sejanus or Sejamus?
It's anus, isn't it? It's Sejanus.
There's no way. It's Sejamus.
It's S-E-J-A-N. No. Ellie, I read the book. I read some of the book. It's S-E-J-A-N-U-S. It's Sejanus. And it's terrible. Also, Coriolanus. I don't know what Suzanne Collins' deal.
It's Sejanus. You're right.
I just told you that.
That's such a bad name.
Not sure if Suzanne College has like a secret fetish that we're don't know about, but I don't know why like 2 of the 3 main characters have the word anus in their name.
Who else?
Coriolanus.
You're absolutely right. What is that?
That's why I texted you, because you had seen the movie and I was still reading the book. I was like, please tell me there's not emphasis on the anus in the movie.
There is.
Like when they say his name.
There sure is.
It's not as bad as I was thinking when I first started reading the book, but yeah you can hear the anus. That's for sure.
Rough. That's so rough. So on that note, now that they're they're only doing the movies off of the books that Suzanne Collins is writing, but please, Suzanne, the people want Haymitch's story, especially because that was the year where they doubled the entries, so there was 48 people in the Hunger Games instead of the 24.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
That's gonna be nuts. That movie would be insane. All right, that's all I want.
He survived so much.
I know.
48 people.
Yes, so much.
I'd die if there were 2. I don't even think I'd make it.
That's fair. Okay, let's begin the book.
Back to our book. Wait, actually, no, never mind. Back to our book.
Wait, actually, yes. No, we do have something else to talk about. So there was that whole jump scare, right? About Rebecca Yarros releasing book 3 January 1st, 2024, which was insane. Everybody was like, is AI writing this? Is ChatGPT writing these chapters? How are you releasing these so quickly?
No, honestly, what I thought was that she had all 5 written already before she even released Fourth Wing.
Right.
Bold move in case Fourth Wing flopped.
Sure.
But it didn't, as it shouldn't. Mm-hmm. And I just assumed she had all the books, and she was going to be so nice to all of us listeners, the loyal fan base, and just give us what we want, especially with the way she ends books. But
well, here's the thing, though. Everybody was really mad. Well, I felt like it was very split, but the majority, and maybe it was like 60-40, 60 being, do not write these books so quickly that the grammar is sucky, the writing's sucky. Like the storyline kind of holds, but does it. And so people were really upset that it was going to come out so quickly.
Interesting.
Assuming
I
that
didn't
she
see
hadn't written
anyone.
them all.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
see anyone upset about it
Mm-hmm.
personally. But I'm not saying, obviously, I don't see everything
That's
that
like
happens on the
the
internet.
majority of what I saw. I'm on the internet a lot, but maybe I'm like on more pessimistic side of the internet because I feel like you're always like, oh, people were excited. I'm like, people hated this. So who's to say? But the
I feel like I'm only
complications,
super optimistic when I'm with you. We balance each other out.
really, really dark. The complications of the printing, that was really messy.
Oh, yeah.
So everyone, aside from
I
the
did see a
writing, they
lot.
were like, "Are you kidding? This is going to be a hot mess." Iron Flame was a hot mess.
To be
But
fair, though, that's not Rebecca Yarros'
it's
problem.
not.
Or is like fault. That's a publishing issue. Like
Sure. Maybe she should have
she didn't
chosen a
print these
better
books. Like
publisher.
I saw a couple, well, yeah, I don't know. I saw a couple different like reels or TikToks or whatever where people said like, "Oh, your book didn't come with a missing dragon on the beginning of chapter 17. Oh, your cover wasn't put on backwards." Like just fun, like
It
literal
was
physical
messy.
errors with their
Yeah.
book.
So
But
that was a lot. But luckily it is not, I mean, luckily, I don't know. Luckily, maybe for some, it's not coming out January 1st, 2024. It's coming out December 2024. So we've got an extra 12 months to really iron out the wrinkles in the process.
I hope
So,
that's enough because
yeah.
I mean, here's why I say that. People were having issues with their publishing already, like the
Yeah.
physical printing and everything. I don't know if Iron Flame had already been written when Fourth Wing came out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna hope that was the case, that
Mm-hmm.
it was, and then at least it was like what 6 months, and then that's
Yeah.
like the issue where the publication stuff came in. But Rebecca Yarros in a comment, like, okay, what, this was maybe 2 weeks ago now since we've seen it,
Mm-hmm.
as of this recording, said in the comment that she literally hasn't even started writing the third book.
Yeah, the
So
Empyrean.
we're
Yeah.
December. Oh, I guess we're not December yet. We're almost December of 2023, and she hasn't even started writing the third book.
My
But in
guy, we are
December of
December 1st,
2024,
2023 in the moment.
oh my gosh, we are. Sorry. Wow, you're right. So it is
It's
December.
time.
We should add like Mariah Carey.
Yeah.
It's gonna be only a full year from when she first starts writing it.
I know.
I doubt the publication's gonna be able to catch up again. There's probably gonna be issues.
We'll see.
Depending on how
Also,
fast she writes it.
quality of writing. I have seen a lot of the people again saying this feels like fast fashion books. Like books lately feel like fast fashion because they're just coming out
Yeah.
so quickly, so fast. And I don't know if maybe like I hadn't been in the book world my entire life like this, you know. So
Yeah.
I don't know how quick authors are able to write and have a turnaround with a book in people's hands that's average, but it feels like Sarah J. Maas, Rebecca Yarros, who wrote Divine Rivals?
Oh, her name's also Rebecca, but I can't remember her last name.
Yeah. All of them, though, are coming out with sequels, so back to back to back. But it's not that it's like back to necessarily their books. Rebecca Yarros's is, but like Sarah J. Maas, her last book came out a while ago, maybe over a year now.
Well, no,
So
Crescent City came out at the beginning of this year, the
was
second
it
one.
this year?
It was January of
Oh.
this year.
So see, I don't know. It does kind of feel like a fast fashion thing. But to me, maybe I'm just not brilliant with writing and how things should be because I'm like, a good story is a good story. I can read it. I get the
Yeah.
gist. There are some things in Iron Flame that I'll talk about later that I'm like, I don't know if I loved this, but
Yeah.
it was a good story.
Here's
I
the
liked
thing,
it.
though. I think here's where I'm at.
Mhm.
I've decided I'm going to be more optimistic about books in general.
I love it.
I see where people are coming from, the fast fashion thing, but like to your point, we haven't been in the book world long enough to know what is or isn't normal. Also, on top of that, I've never written a book. I don't know how fast
That's
people.
so
Some
fair.
people just write quicker. Some people write faster than others, but I don't feel like the quality of writing was lacking in any of like Sarah J. Maas's. Well, okay, I guess I haven't read Crescent City yet, so TBD, I guess, on that one. But I can't. She can do no wrong in my eyes, so she could probably rewrite the. I bet she could rewrite Everybody Poops, and I would be like, this is literary genius. So
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a little biased when it comes to some authors.
Sarah J. Maas,
but
I am in her corner. I will die on that hill. Whatever she does is right to me. Unless she kills, our favorite characters, then
she's wrong. But otherwise, she's right.
Yeah.
Actually, honestly, if she kills her favorite characters, I will weep for days, but there's a small part of me that would be like, she knows what she's doing.
We trust her. Yes.
Amen.
Okay.
I don't know.
All that being said, let's do the book.
Before we do that, though, really quick, I know we normally do this at the end of the episodes. I wanted to start here. Thank you so much for listening.
Oh, yeah.
If you aren't already subscribed on our YouTube or following us on Spotify, if you haven't left us a review, please do that. It helps us a lot, and we really appreciate your guys' time. We hope that it's beneficial for you. Honestly, we're not like literary geniuses. I know there's some other book podcasts where they like really deep into theories and all that stuff. We're just two chumps that like reading and talking about it, and we want to make it like a funny and enjoyable experience. So that's our goal. If that's not what you're looking for, you probably, I mean, at this point we're 16 episodes in, but don't listen to us anymore because we're not going to be super deep or insightful, but hopefully we'll be fun. And that's the goal.
Never say never. One day I might wake up and be like, today I'm deep and insightful. But as of now,
as of today,
that's true. A chump.
Anyways, if you have this, liking, subscribing, following us on all the socials, like it helps us. It helps us grow, and then we're able to keep making more. So thank you mostly for being here. But okay, now finally, I know we keep like saying we're gonna jump in and then keep thinking about things. Now we're starting. Now we're jumping into Iron Flame.
Yes.
Part 1, chapters 1 through 10.
Take it away.
And all right. So I know also really quick, the very beginning of this book. No, I'm jumping in. I'm jumping in. Just give me a sec.
This is us jumping in.
It started out the exact same in Fourth Wing. There's a description or a caption on there. It says, the following text has been faithfully transcribed from Navarrian into the modern language by Jacinia Nellywort, curator of the Scribe Quadrant at Basgiath War College. All events are true, and names have been preserved to honor the courage of those fallen. May their souls be commended to Malik. Does that feel like, I mean, I feel like the concept of like a united continent is inevitable. Like, but did that feel super foreshadowy to you? I went back to check, but it's because it's also in the beginning of Fourth Wing. So I'm wondering if this is going to tie into the last book and it's just going to be at the beginning of all of them.
Yeah.
Because it's like verbatim the exact same in both books.
So one thing is we know Jacinia obviously lives. So that's great.
True.
Her safety is nice. In question. It does make me think that Violet and Xaden die. Also, that Violet and Xaden is not their real names. That's interesting because that's what's close to all of our hearts.
No, it says all events are true and names have been preserved to honor the courage of those fallen.
Preserved. I thought kept hidden.
How did you hear kept hidden out of
genius? Preserved? Today was not the day I woke up and decided.
We are not going to be deep and insightful today.
Just keep rolling. Right. Let's keep going.
Okay, so that's how the book opens. Chapter 1, we're jumping in. Violet is eating for the first time in 3 days, and she's in Aretia. And she's looking at her not dead brother, who is just acting as normal as can be. The conversation, he's just like, so how is that? Like, I don't know. I like couldn't get over. Okay, here's the thing. I know I called this, I didn't. I started talking about this at the end of the last episode. I knew at some point during Fourth Wing that Brennan was going to actually not be dead. He was alive somewhere. I assumed he was part of the revolution, whatever. But I did not expect that happening at the end of the first book. I thought we would somehow like figure that out during this book. So for that to be the cliffhanger that it ended on, I was so glad that I didn't have to wait to read Iron Flame. I'm glad that we waited until Iron Flame was out to start it. But I don't know. Would you have been, I mean, we will get into this a little bit, I guess, later, but like, for him to just be acting so normal, would that have bothered you? Like if you were Violet?
Yeah, 100%. Well, it'd bother me if my 6-year dead relative was like, hey, how's it going? And just yeah, all of that would bother me. Even if they were like, I'm so sorry, that would bother me. I'd be very bothered.
Yeah. And she also her world has literally just been rocked. She also just found out that the not pretend or not fabled Venin and Wyvern are a very real threat, and the threat that she perceived in the Griffins is, I mean, they're not like besties anymore, but like it's like, oh, okay, actually we're fighting together.
Yeah.
So
right.
And then she just got almost killed by one of them.
And that everything like her family has stood for in her eyes has been a lie, which is
exactly.
It's a lot to handle.
Also, I know I just called myself a chump and I'm not very insightful, but I will say I want to call something out. In the exact phrasing in the oh gosh, it's like one of the first couple of pages. It says something like I should be dead, like that should have killed me. I have an unhinged theory.
Ooh, let's hear it.
She is, I know you can't be like part Venin, but like somehow she was either attacked as a kid or like, you know, remember that like fever, quote unquote, that she had when their mom got sick and that like made her ill. I'm wondering if that was actually not a fever, it was more something like this, and so now she's immune to it to some extent.
Could be.
I don't know. I didn't have that theory until I went back and reread it. I didn't catch the like nuances in that word the first time, but now I'm thinking that has something to do with it potentially.
Yeah.
Just saying. I think it's definitely going to come back later in the book. Rebecca Yarros is a really gifted author, and I feel like she does similar to Sarah J. Maas. Nothing is brought up unintentionally. She, in my humble opinion, I don't think she's quite as good at little things like that. So maybe I'm just like SJMing this and looking way too into like the details, but like that's something Sarah J. Maas would do. Like just have one word in the beginning of one book that say should, and then have it come back 3 books later and be like, I told you it said should, not did. Like but anyways.
I had a theory as well. I remember I was at your house when I started reading Iron Flame. So I know it was in the beginning first chapter that something made me think of this. So it's relevant. All that to say it's relevant. How the marked ones, when they gathered in threes, that General Melgren can't see the outcome of whatever they're doing. My theory is that his dragon, because his dragon's the one that like burned them and gave them those marks, right? Melgen's dragon?
Yes.
I think so. I think his dragon knew what was going on with the Venin and all that and took the side of those who are fighting against it in that revolution. So he marked them in such a way that when they are together, Melgren can't see because he's on their side. The dragon is.
So
not Melgren.
No, I know. I'm just telling you. That question is answered in this book. You just haven't gotten there yet. So I'm excited for when you do read that to figure it out.
Okay. Watch it be so wrong. Okay.
Yeah. Do you think you would have acted... Okay, I mean, not just with Brennan, but just like in general, do you think you would have acted the same way Violet does? Just like almost angry? Like because
no, I would have been 1,000% angry. I would have literally like broken things. I would have like swept stuff off the table. I'd been mad. How about you?
Yeah. I don't know. I think her actions are absolutely justified. I don't feel like she was acting irrationally, like by any means. But you know, I've never had everything that I believed in flipped upside down, and a sibling that I thought was dead for 6 years actually have been alive the entire time fighting for my perceived enemy. So I can't relate, truthfully.
Yeah. I get that.
All right. So we also learned during this that Aretia is ruled by an assembly of 7 members versus Navarre, which is ruled by 1 king. Also, I feel like that's pretty typical in these types of movies. Whenever there's like a revolution or a rebellion, they're the good, quote unquote, the good guys. Okay, I don't.
Move on.
I think it's the phone. I don't.
Probably.
Right. Riorson House. Though they're in Riorson House. It's described as being half palace, half home, but entirely a fortress. I don't know about you. Maybe I'm just stupid. I had a really hard time picturing this. Were you like able to like in your mind create Riorson
Yes,
House?
but only because of Throne of Glass. In one of the books, they
Oh.
talk about this fortress it's described a lot, like in grave detail. And so for me, I was like, oh, same, but different. So
Okay.
yes,
I
for
was like,
me, I
I
could
mean,
picture it better.
she definitely describes it more than just this one line, but
Mhm.
that was like one of the first descriptions we get of the house before it goes into like how ornate things were and like the
Yeah.
stone of the outside, and which is why it didn't burn and
Mhm.
whatever. But I don't know. I now like when I really thought about it, like putting this together, I'm realizing it could have been even like a castle,
Mhm.
but because the word I'm just so literal, because the word house or home
Oh,
was
yeah.
used, I'm picturing like my little 1,800 square foot house,
Yeah.
and then
I immediately
but then it
pictured
says
a
but also a
castle.
fortress.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no. I was like, this it does not make sense. These are
Like
opposites. How is this the same?
Game of Thrones, like the keep, I think, is more
Okay.
similar of what I thought, but just a big wall around it.
Well, exactly. And that's where now I'm thinking that, but like
Mhm.
initially I had a hard time in the beginning of this book because they're explaining just how big this house is and all this stuff, and I just wasn't I like couldn't get there. So I had
Mhm.
a hard time. I like skipped over all of that
Mhm.
because even went back and reread it and I'm like, I'm so stupid. How do I not understand what this is like in my head? I honestly almost didn't even say that on the podcast because I didn't want to sound dumb, but I'm like, you know what? I hope there's other people that are
I'm
dumb or
sure
not
there
dumb
are.
like me that just didn't get it, and help me make me feel better about myself if if that
Just
was you.
crickets.
Yeah, honestly, you're the only one. But the assembly members are going back and forth about Viscount Takaris, which Violet is super confused about because she's like, we don't even have viscounts in our patriarchy.
Right.
um, his luminary. All right, I don't understand what is happening. If you're watching this, I don't know. I think it's my phone. I don't know what's going on. I just the thumbs up. I don't know what's happening on these
Just
visuals.
keep going.
The offer he made that Xaden refused, which piqued my interest,
Mhm.
but we don't get to find out about that at the moment. And then whatever insult Xaden gave him the previous summer, and then if the group of cadets, the 8 of them, should go back to Basgiath, and then specifically if Violet should stay and the rest of them go back.
Mhm.
My favorite quote though from this chapter is okay, it's a little bit long, so stay with me. It says, "She is standing right here," I snap, and an unflattering amount of satisfaction courses through me as at the number of jaws that drop in front of me. So stop talking about me and start talking to me. A corner of Xaden's mouth rises, and the pride that flashes through his expression is unmistakable. "What do you want from me?" I asked them, striding into the room. "Want me to walk the parapet and prove my bravery? Done. Want me to betray my kingdom by defending Peromish citizens? Done. Want me to keep his secrets?" I gestured towards Xaden with my left hand. Done. I kept every secret.
So good.
Oh, power move, boss babe Violet.
It's so
Not
good.
letting not letting them talk about her like she's insignificant.
Yeah.
Not letting them talk about her like she's not even there. She's
On
like,
that
"Look,
note,
what
I
do you want me to
have
do?"
I have something to say. This happens
If
to
it's
me.
bad, I don't know if I want to hear it.
No, it's not about the book.
Okay.
This happens to me a lot, and tell me if this happens to you too. Just as like a girl, not to pull this whole like girl power dealio, but I feel so often that like whenever Grant meets a guy, they'll go up to Grant and be like, "Hey, how's it going? Look at me," and then continue talking to Grant. Like they don't even say hi or anything. Does that happen to you a lot?
Really?
That happens to me so often, and it's immediately like if that happens, we're done. We will have no relationship. We are done. Not
um,
friends.
I don't know. Truthfully, I don't think I've ever paid too much attention,
Yeah.
and I think that's because in my relationship with Zeke, I'm the one who's generally more of the conversation
Sure.
starter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, don't get me wrong, if someone approaches us, that doesn't mean they're going to know that. But I think
Mhm.
Zeke would be like, "Hey," and I just would be like, "Hey, I'm Melissa. What's up? How's it going?" Like, I don't
Yeah.
think I'd even let them
Sure.
like ignore me.
Yeah.
So, it's not
Salespeople
anything
too,
that
though. Salespeople do this a lot, especially male
oh, they
salespeople.
always talk to Zeke.
Yeah,
And
they go
that's
straight
the
to
funniest
Grant.
thing. Uh-huh.
So
That's
we
the
were
best
at
part
a
though.
you what?
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say that's the best part for me that they go to Zeke because it reminds me of the Nate Bargatze like clip in his thing where he like his wife schedules everything, his wife like does all of that, and he just lives in their house.
Yeah.
So like anytime like construction people come over or whatever, they ask him like, where's your water heater? And he's like,
exactly.
I'd love to go buy one. Where do you have them in your truck? Like,
yes.
Because he has no idea. That's me and Zeke. So that's what's it's
we
funny.
were couch shopping. Who do you think is gonna make the decision on the couch?
I know.
My husband? Which, you know, they don't know the background that I like design the whole house, but Grant is like, he puts his arm literally puts his arm around Grant and starts walking him through as I'm walking behind them like a whatever girl. And I was like, this is insane. We did not buy a couch from those people.
I was literally just about to say, if that happened to me, I would be like, I don't even care if my favorite couch is here. I'm buying something else.
It's going to be purchased online is what's going to happen. But
you
that
lost
made me
dude.
So think of this quote that you gave when it was like, she is standing right here and she has something to say. Like, the amount of times I wish I could do that, but I'm not so bold. But maybe I will be.
Yeah. Okay, so I know we briefly touched on this, but after the whole assembly meeting or whatever, Violet and Brennan get to have like a little bit more time to just have a conversation themselves. And they go back, and this to me right here is really where the hurt that manifests as anger comes out from Violet towards Brennan. And I resonate. Well, I didn't resonate with it, but I appreciated it. I'm glad that she wasn't just like, oh, you're alive, like, which is awesome. Yeah, but
it was a real reaction.
I think it's only because of the way he reacted and just pretended like it was another day in Aretia. Like, it wasn't just like, oh, my sister that I haven't seen since she was 14 who almost died, and I flew here unexpectedly, and I, by the skin of my teeth, was able to save her life because of my signet, is here. She is like on and off having a weird flirty thing with the leader of my revolution. But we're just gonna sit here and eat this biscuit like nothing's ever happened. Like, that's, I think if he didn't approach the situation like that, I would have been like, Violet, sweetie, your anger is misdirected. But because he did, I'm like, you get him. Don't go, sis. Don't let him off the hook. Like, this is so 100%. You can't act like that.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know. Also, just like really quick side note, can we talk about how funny Brennan's dragon's name is? Marb.
Is it Marb?
It's Marb.
I read it, I don't say it out loud. So in my head, I'm like, yeah, the H, so it's Marbh. The H makes me think like, for sure, strong name. But as you said it out loud, I'm like, Marb.
Same thing too. Like, I again, like, parts of this I listened to audiobook, so some of the at least this is how the narrator said Marb. But before I, like, when I was just reading it, I was like, Marb. I think I even put the H in the wrong spot. Like, I know it's at the end, but I think I was like Maharb, and I'm like, that sounds dumb, but Marb sounds even worse to me. And also, I don't know why, but I picture Marb being a red dragon.
Really?
I missed the description. Well, it's Marb's orange. I missed
us. If you've been listening in any episode, we really don't take to the descriptions.
We take character descriptions loosely, and then also add our own interpretation.
But this is what they really look like. The dragon's purple, also, named Marb.
They like kind of very loosely explain what Brennan looks like, but I don't care how they explained it. I have a friend named Brennan, and that's who I picture reading this book. Yeah,
I can't even describe it, but I see him clearly in my head. He's just like a guy. I
mean, I see him very clearly in my head.
Does he have a buzz cut in your head?
No, he has curly hair, but he also, I'm pretty sure the character has kind of curly hair too. So
probably, but again, it's just a light suggestion for me. My head does what it wants.
As Brennan and Violet are talking though, and the dormant, quote unquote dormant wardstone gets brought up, I immediately knew that this was with the way Violet's thought process was going. I was like, all right, they're going back to Basgiath, and I have to just call myself out here, because I was so wrong in the last episode.
What?
when you asked me if I thought they'd go back to Basgiath, I was like, no way, they're doing a revolution, baby. They're staying in Aretia. Like, they're not going back. I think we're like not even like at the end of chapter 2 and they are already talking about going back.
Like, we have to go back. Here's my thing is it to me did not make sense that they wouldn't go back, and not because in the storyline it wouldn't make sense. If they never went back, the story, would go on. But book 1 built so much description and story around the school that to just wipe that away after one book, like 2 books, I can see them wiping it away and okay, now we're moving on, we're doing something else. But Basgiath had such a foundation that it wouldn't make sense to be like, we built all this and there's still graduation, there's still 3 years, whatever, and all of the like possible story that could happen in the school. I could not see it just fading away so quickly.
You see, that makes sense. But Fourth Wing Melissa was not thinking like, okay,
she wasn't ready.
Actually the reason I didn't think they were going to go back, truthfully, I didn't get it. I was like, it makes so much sense now why they would.
Yeah.
But when you first asked me that question, I'm just like I had moved on. I'm a part of the rebellion now, or revolution. I'm in Aretia. Why would I go? Like, why would we go back? That makes zero sense to go back. They're the enemy. They're wrong. Why would I but the fact that they're like missing, I guess they could like pretend they're dead, but like I didn't even think about the potential repercussions of what that would mean. Right. And truthfully, completely forgot about Riddick, Rhiannon, Sawyer, like all these characters that we've spent so much time getting to know.
Yeah.
Somehow they weren't there when they fought the Venom and when Liam died, and that was just all I was thinking about. So when I'm like going back, I'm like, they don't exist. Why would I go back? Like I was
those are good points though.
Very much tunnel vision when it came to like where the story was headed.
You were passionate, and so it's a good thing I like that about you. That's why we do the podcast.
It's a good thing that I didn't write this book because it would be much shorter of a series.
You are ready to jump off the cliff and fly, and I'm here to ground you.
Yes, without learning how to fly, mind you. But, also, though, I will say one thing and like going back to the archives to get some answers, like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Somewhat. Yeah. Hear me out. I also thought that was really dumb because she's just learned that everything they've been taught has been very selectively given to them and that they've hidden a lot from their people for whatever reason. But so why would she think going back to the place that is being given selective truths
100%.
would have the information that she's looking for?
So that is a plot hole that I thought was not well written.
Especially considering that they didn't even have the copy of her childhood fable book.
Right.
And that was already like initially was like a warning of red flag to her.
Here's where I let it go. And maybe this was bad writing on SJM's part, but I refuse to admit that ever. In Throne of Glass. I get Game of Thrones, Throne of Glass mixed up so much. In Throne of Glass, there's a library where all these books should have been burned that have to do with magic. And but there's tons of books in there that have to do with magic that were just overlooked. So whilst that was also kind of a whole, I let this one go because I had so readily accepted that if we can't change the law. In my head, if that's accepted, this has to be accepted.
We can't change the law. Yeah, I don't know. I just was like, I get that it's a reason to get her back to Basgiath, but it felt flawed.
Yeah.
Even though, I mean, I'm going to hype this book up. If I'm like going to be really like critical, I guess, about like the thought process, to me, that didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But, okay. Another quote that I loved is, because love at its root is hope. Hope for tomorrow, hope for what could be, hope for that someone, hope that the someone you've entrusted your everything to will cradle and protect it, and hope that shit is harder to kill than a dragon. Oh man, the hopeless romantic in me, that one got me good, got me in the feels, because I mean, she also, her and Xaden are like not. They're not butting heads, but she is so mad at him right now. And so, but she also still loves him so much. I love the inner thoughts on this with her. I'm glad that she didn't fall out of love, quote unquote, with him. Yeah. Because I feel like that would have just been like really messy. This is already honestly kind of messy. But
I have something to say. This didn't come straight from me. I saw it online, but it's a thinker. You know how they're doing the enemies to lovers situation? Like that was clearly a thing here.
Yeah, it felt loose enemies to lovers though, truthfully,
But
to me.
have you seen the unhinged theory that the true
Oh my
enemies to
gosh.
lover could
Is
be
Dane?
Dane and
I
not
will throw
Xaden?
up. No, there's literally no way. They can speak in each other's minds. There's absolute. I will die on
No,
this hill.
there's no
There is
way. There's
no
no way.
way
I
that's
do
gonna
agree.
happen.
I do agree. It's way too tied in. There's so much between them. The speaking in the minds,
Yeah.
the dragon mating, all that. But what if there is a way?
If that's what happens,
we throw the books out, right? Like we
we
throw,
throw
them away?
the book. Well, okay. There is a 90% chance I'm stopping the series. I'll give
it's a DNF
Yarros,
if they do that. Goodbye.
There's a 10% chance. I'm gonna give her 10% to make it a really freaking good, like
switcheroo.
Yeah, redemption for Dane and like somehow make me hate Xaden. Sure. I'll give her a chance, but it's a small one and I don't think it'll matter truthfully anyways.
Yeah. But I had to share it, you know? You have to share those kinds of theories.
Okay, and then now they're like, okay, we're going back to Basgiath, whatever. She sees Andarna for the first time, and she's not gold. She's black scales, and I guess I have to say B since I said A. B, like twice her size. And Taryn, of course, it just says like all these things. I just hate. Okay, another thing that I'm just not crazy about is how much information the dragons withhold from their riders.
Hey, they're dragons.
If the bond is so strong that both of them, potentially, I guess depending on how long they've been together, will die, yet they keep I feel like throughout this whole book, we're just learning so many things that Taryn already knew that he's just making Violet figure out on her own. Like, what the? I don't know. That really drove me crazy.
This one was tricky though because Andarna should have had a normal growth process. We find that out. I think
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the fact. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that she's like, oh, Andarna, you're like, what happened to your gold? And Taryn goes, oh, like dragons are only gold as feather tails. Like, and he's like, then they do all these things. It's just all this stuff that I'm like,
I guess he could have told her. Yeah.
To be fair, feather tails generally don't bond, and humans don't technically need to know any of that. I get it.
But this human
Violet should have probably known.
Yeah.
Like, and he chose her because of her integrity and her courage and all that stuff. She's not someone that's gonna be power crazy and like, you know what I mean? Like need to know all this stuff. I feel she's a trustworthy person to have told that. She's not gonna.
Here's where yes, to your point, yes. But also no, because I'm not an over communicator. This is a Grant move of like, hey, she is gold now and soon she will be black. And also she is going to be bigger because for me, it's like when it happens, we'll talk about it then. Like 100%, I do think I would approach it how Taryn did. There's no reason to get into this conversation until it happens. So let's just wait. Let's just see how things play out.
You're so wise. I am such an over communicator. So I think that's why it bothered me.
Mm-hmm.
And that also why I could never write a book because I could never have secrets. I'd be like, right initially when Violet bonded with Andarna, I would be like, she's golden small now, but just wait, she gets bigger.
But just you wait.
That only happens when she's a feather tail. You'll never know what color she's gonna be. Like, I wouldn't have been able to keep it to myself.
Yeah.
But then now moving on to chapter 3, they're flying back to Basgiath. As they're landing, Taryn explains the need, like why they go over in like more detail why humans bonded. And Ellie, I need you to do your Ellie messed up.
Okay, I messed up because so I was like, it doesn't make sense that dragons bond with humans. Dragons don't need the humans. But one of Melissa's friends told her who told me. So how reliable is it? Just kidding.
Yeah, it's also, I read it. It's in the book.
Dragons bonded humans in order to protect their hatching grounds from venom with wards since they couldn't wield them themselves. So they need the humans for the wards.
The wards. So. I even like Taryn in the book. He goes something like, because we don't have opposable thumbs, and I pictured the dragon going like this. Okay. Didn't picture the fireworks that just went off from my screen, but Gosh, that just throws me off too. I hate it.
know.
Okay. But here is where
The miscommunication really comes
actually
in.
before we start talking about that, I loved though that, because I know like Liam's dying wish was that Violet takes care of his sister Sloane.
Yes, I loved this.
I loved that she, even in spite of like they're at the college like getting caught, like they want to make a grand entrance, which I'm here for, and everything. They want, she still sacrifices everything and risks getting caught to go into his room and grab the letters for his sister before they burn all his stuff. Because they, I mean, at this point are assuming he's dead, but they don't technically know still. And I just think that was really sweet how intentional that was, which is another reason why we love our Queen Violet. But that's that on that.
That was awesome.
So here is though, I rolled a little bit because I even just talked so much about in our last episode about how I love that there's no miscommunication between Violet and Xaden, and specifically Violet. Like she says what she is thinking, and that is still mostly true in this book. But Xaden pissed me off a little bit here because she makes a comment about like they're talking and she says, but as long as you meant what you said about telling me everything, and then it goes, the book, the reaction says he flinches and my heart sinks. I rolled my eyes because I'm like, my guy, you just told Violet that. And then he tries to pretend like it was, I said I'd tell you anything about me. And I'm glad Violet goes, that's actually not what you said, because that isn't what he said. And I was just as angry as Violet was talking to him. And then now it goes into like this stupid, like, I'll tell you anything, just ask me a question. Ask me anything about myself and I'll be as truthful as I can be. Oh my gosh. I'm like, dude, just, I don't know, if you're not gonna, like, clearly this girl needs communication. She needs information. She needs you to tell her stuff.
That's so frustrating to me. Like, I'll tell you anything, but
be,
ask me first. Like, what am I supposed to ask you?
He's not even telling her anything. It's like, tell me anything about, or ask me anything about myself, and I'll tell you, maybe, because I still don't know if I can be truthful, 100% truthful about all of it.
But it's just, his reasoning was decently.
His reasoning, I get.
Okay.
I will say, at least it's not some stupid, like, I'm just not comfortable with telling you about myself or anything. Like, I get it. They're in war. He's a leader of
shield yet, and she's going back to Basgiath. They know that, and Dane's gonna be there, ready to.
Well,
pounce.
even pounce, even in Aretia, like there's gonna be times and there's gonna be things where he just can't tell her, either for his safety, for her safety, for the safety of like something else. And I like real life. Like, if I was married to a Navy SEAL, he wouldn't be able to tell me crap about his job. And that's not because he wouldn't want to.
Right.
It's just because he couldn't. So, like, that aspect, I do understand it. I think I just hated the way he went about it and was like, I'll tell you anything. And then kind of like took a step back and like lied.
Yeah.
And then was like, well, but I'm going to make you work for it.
Yeah.
By asking me questions. That was where I was like, nah.
Yeah.
I don't like this. Not a fan.
Sure. It wasn't great. But then, okay, they end up going back to Basgiath now.
Yeah.
And what did you think about their grand entrance? As the death roll is being read, they walk in. What good timing.
Kiss. Oh my word.
It was great.
It was so, like, I mean, I know it's a book and I know it's like being set up like that, but that's like mic drop movie moment. If I ever have a moment like that in my life, I'll be like, all right, I have to die now because nothing's gonna top this.
Yeah.
I love that that's how like the chapter like ended.
Yeah,
mostly.
Then Justinia, when she was like, "Hey, I'm glad you're alive," but signed it.
Yeah, I was taking a quick side note. I love that they don't, I guess, specifically say that she's deaf, but we get the gist because they only sign.
What is up with that? With the past, with SJM and with Rebecca Yarros's people in the library, why can none of them speak? Why do they silence them? What
Ellie,
is that?
Inclusion. Okay, it's different.
But okay, sure, yeah. But why the librarians?
Well, okay, I think it's probably because it's the easiest character. Maybe. I don't know. But you're right. A little bit of a crossover there as far as like the similarities, but the reasonings are completely different. Like Clotho in
and also
the
there's so
ACOTAR
much more
series,
inclusion that you can write in before mute, which like please do write that
she's
in.
not, I'm assuming deaf, not well. Clotho though was not born that way. She was literally beaten.
No, yeah,
and her tongue was ripped out, and she couldn't sign because her fingers were all messed up. So she had to just work with pointing. But
Yes,
Justinia, I'm going off the fact that Justinia is deaf, not mute.
I don't think they're deaf or mute. Actually, I think they just don't talk in the library. Now that
No,
might be me not reading things,
no,
but
you
you
missed
think
it.
that
Other
there's
scribes
something?
talk.
They do?
Everyone signs to Justinia.
Oh, I thought they signed to everybody, but maybe I'm just reading about Justinia signing to everyone.
Justinia is, well, okay, think about this. I can't remember his name right now, but that one, he's a professor with
Markham.
In Battle Brief. Markham, yeah, he's a scribe and he talks.
Remember, he's a scribe professor. All right, regardless.
But first and foremost, he's like the head of the scribes.
Yeah.
So
okay,
there's fair. A really small scene. It's later in this book. There's a really small scene where they run into another scribe,
but he signed.
That's to Justinia, but he talks to the group.
I didn't realize he talked to them. I thought he was signing to them too.
Well, he's signing at the same time because Justinia needs to be able to keep up.
Look, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I thought they all just signed just because they're not. It's like, shh, this is a library. And I thought it's very interesting.
This isn't Monsters University where they're trying to escape the library.
So that's why I was like, oh, this isn't necessarily inclusion. This is just they don't want anyone to speak in libraries. And that also was a similarity with SJM's books. So that's where that's where my thought process is. Do not come at me, everybody. I love
I get where you're coming from, but I will say,
love silent libraries.
Again, devil's advocate, Rebecca Yarros has a lot of inclusion in this book, so I feel like that to me is even more of evidence that this would be more of that versus
that
them
makes
just
sense.
being quiet.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, all right. Okay, so I just liked the sweet little moment of signing her between her and Violet.
Yeah, it was sweet.
But did you think that Violet's mom would kill and or punish her in the group when they got back? Like that was like Violet's biggest fear.
Was like, no, my mom would never do that. I was like, Violet, sweetie, you don't know your mom like I do, because she would.
I knew that I thought maybe get in trouble, but like get in trouble for what? Unless they made I knew that
they couldn't kill them because the book was still this much
there's more
thicker.
books.
And so like obviously, but in the grand scheme of things, do I actually think Violet's mom would have gone through to kill her? Yeah, absolutely. She sent her to the rider squad.
Quadrant, close.
Quadrant, yeah.
I don't know. I hated her mom in the beginning, but like as the book went on and like as her mom made reactions, I do get her more. I knew that she wouldn't kill her. Because I think if anything, the main reason was because of how distraught Violet says her mom was when Brennan died. That right there to me was like, okay, there's no way like she could ever, especially for something like not minor. I don't know. I was just like, there's no way. But I didn't think it would put it past her to do some kind of like punishment just for like a show of force in front of everyone else. So I'm glad that didn't happen. I'm glad that her mom listened to her and like freaking Colonel Atos. I hate him more than Dane. Like his dad. Like, oh my gosh.
No, absolutely. You're supposed to. He's the worst. But I really liked how Violet freaking do not touch me to Dane. I loved it.
I cringed a little.
Did you?
I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, I loved it. I loved the public
because the publicity of it when no one knows what he did wrong. So she seemed, if I'm picturing myself as being someone in first wing, second squad, claw section, like has no idea what's going on. And all I know is from Violet before War Games, her and Dane were really close. I think I even saw them kiss after threshing. And then she's also close with Riorson though.
So much.
Also kind of friends with Riorson. And then they're missing. We just read some of their names were just on the death roll, but now they're here. Oh my gosh, what? And then now she's screaming at Dane to not touch her. What happened? That's what I would be. That's kind of where I
like
was.
The moment where you have to like
myself.
go vacuum your front driveway because you need to hear
Yes!
everything that's happening with them.
Your neighbors are yelling, so you're making yourself look busy. That's
you're dusting the leaves. But no, I really did like this because it was so raw, and truthfully, the way I explode sometimes, if it's bad enough, if someone just sent me to my death and to my understanding and killed my friend, I'm going to yell at you. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. I'm going to be like, do not get near me. We are done. Our relationship is done. You are dead to me.
I think her reaction was justified for the reasons you said. I just cringed a little bit while reading it. I was like, ugh, couldn't have been me. Actually, but it could have, now that I think about it.
I do have a favorite quote from this chapter. Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
You should take her at her word. In fact, Xaden doesn't bother to lower his voice. If you don't, I'll take personal offense. She made her choice and it wasn't you. It will never be you. I know it. She knows it. The whole quadrant knows it. So there you go. That's like the payoff for vacuuming your leaves outside. You know what's going on now.
That's when you're like vacuuming the same spot over and over again and you can't even look away. That, I was like, we stan Zaddy Riorson when he said that.
I guess.
Hey.
I guess.
Hey, it's okay.
It's
We're all
okay.
thinking it,
It's
Ellie.
okay.
It's okay. You don't have to act
How
like
that. How are you gonna
that.
cringe when she yells at Dane, but like not cringe at that?
Oh, because there's no other word to explain him.
I guess.
I'm not gonna say it again because you're gonna make fun of me.
Don't say it again. Move on. But Violet got a little embarrassed, which was
I will say though, Dane's reaction wasn't as big as I expected it because he seemed. I mean, like when Xaden reached or whispered in his ear Athbane, like, so they knew what he was like talking about. At that point, all Dane knew was that he read his memory, or that Violet knew that he read her memories.
Right.
But his reaction was so like, it wasn't as explosive as I kind of thought it could have been. Right here was a pivotal moment for me with Dane. I think if he had been like freaking out and like really on the defensive and everything, that would have set him up to be like a main villain.
I think
moving forward in this storyline,
though, because he was in line to be wing leader upon graduation. He was he's always been that like calm, cool, collected, I'm the next best thing, like, you know, so he had to always stay collected. So I feel like even though he might have wanted to defend himself, which he did because he approaches her later on in the book, he couldn't explode in front of everyone for fear of lack of respect for him. I think that's just my personal opinion.
Agreed, but Xaden even said the reason he, like, his plan, he knew he was planning on doing this, and his plan was to hit him in his pride. And I feel like that, especially for a guy's guy, like, that's, if you can hit someone in their pride, that's usually where they lose control. So I think that's why I wouldn't have been surprised if he had like slipped, especially considering the argument was about Violet. I feel like he obviously, like, we learn in Fourth Wing, he wouldn't break the rules for her, but she was absolutely his Achilles heel still. So I don't know, because of his reaction, and he seemed like surprised still too. I don't know. I was actually kind of like, you know what? Hot take. I don't hate Dane. I don't like him. He's not my favorite character by any like measure at all.
So you, as the writer in Fourth Wing, watching all this go down, would be like, I don't hate him.
Oh no. Me as the writer, I'm still vacuuming my grass. I'm still so confused by what's happening because we didn't. My first wing, second section claw, me, didn't hear what Xaden whispered in Dane's ear. So I'm still like, oh my gosh, there's secrets.
There's secrets. There's more to unfold.
I am still just here for the hot goss if I'm someone else. But
no, this is definitely,
because
I think,
know everything.
This is where he and Tamlin's, like, the equal level of hate for both of them split off, because exactly what you said, he didn't get all defensive and, oh, it's not me. But Tamlin was like a hot mess through and through.
Exactly. And that's where, I mean, I even said in our last episode, about halfway through the first book, I was even not able to compare characters quite as much as I felt like I could in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But
which is good.
this
It
is
shows an
where,
independence of writing, and I like that because there
yeah,
was a
me
lot
too.
of similarity in the beginning.
Yeah, but I agree. But I think a lot of people just like took the Dane is I hate Dane, he's annoying, and he's Tamlin route and just kind of ran with it. But this is not how Tamlin would have been the explosive, defensive, reactionary character if this had happened.
Yeah.
And because Dane wasn't, I kind of was like, like did a double take. And that's where I was like, he's, don't get me wrong, don't love him.
Don't love him, but there might be something. There could be something there that wasn't there before. I just watched Beauty and the Beast. That's very prevalent right now in my head.
I love that for you. I'm glad we were able to work that in here.
Would you like to discuss the graduation after party?
I would like some lavender lemonade, if I do say so myself.
Non-spiked?
I was thinking it was,
yes. Spiked?
I know, non-spiked. Well,
not for me.
I'd have it either way.
Yeah.
I'd have it either way. But okay, lavender, that just sounds delicious. Like a lavender honey tea. You've had lavender lemonade?
They catered it at the work party I was at for Halloween, or before that, I think, an open house or something. And it was so good. They even threw in like gold flakes and like the lavender. It was really good.
Ellie, I need some. Man, I'm so glad it was good, because in my head it's delicious. I can taste it in my mind and I want some.
I'll see if I can send you a Pinterest recipe. You have to try it. It
looks like in my head, the only way I can explain it is Taylor Swift purple. And I have a feeling every single person's going to know exactly what shade I'm talking about.
Yes, 100%. And it's beautiful. It's a good shade. I don't like purple, and I like that purple.
Oh, man. I also liked that we can kind of tell that, and I feel like this was a little bit inevitable after what they went through fighting the Venom together, but we're starting to see Imogen kind of not softening up, but a little bit.
Yes. I loved Imogen's
Violet.
Character growth.
I did too. I did not like her in the first book.
No.
But I knew we were going to, because of she was associated with Xaden. Like, I didn't expect me to not end up liking her, but Rebecca did a really good job at making me not like her in the beginning.
And then like her more.
And then I'm glad that she is like that sassy friend that wouldn't admit that they're friends, but has your back like 100% in a dangerous situation.
Right.
Kind of.
It's great.
Everyone needs one of those.
Yeah, I do like that.
My favorite quote from this chapter is Violet, they're all talking or whatever. She's a little buzzed from the lavender lemonade, and she sees that Xaden's in his flight leathers and he's leaving. So she says, "I'll be right back," I say, setting my cup on the table and wobbling a little as I stand. "No more lemonade for me." "I certainly hope not," Riddick mutters, "or you'll destroy all my fantasies when it comes to that one." I died. I love Riddick. I am amending what I said in the last episode, that my top 3 are Xaden, Violet, and Liam. I like, in between Violet and Liam, I'm adding like a caveat,
like a 2.5. Yeah, 1, 2,
Riddick.
2.5, and 3.
I freaking love Riddick.
He is such a good comedic relief. I really enjoy him. Half the time I'm like, shut up, but then you can't.
But like in the best way.
Yeah, it's so good.
Shut up, but I love you.
I know.
And the bomb gets dropped that Xaden is being assigned to the front and not a Midgard post like most lieutenants. Did that surprise you or not really?
This and the next question go hand in hand for me. The next question is, what was your first impression of Major Varish? He comes off such a freaking creep to me. So it did not surprise me that Xaden was assigned to the front and that Violet's life was about to be hell, because Major Varish comes off right off the bat like, I don't like either of you, and makes it well known.
Yeah, I don't know what stick he had up his butt, but like, okay, I picture, this is the only way, like, I don't know how you pictured him, but I pictured him like, oh gosh, it's been so long since I've read Harry Potter, or like even watched, I take that, I've never actually read the Harry Potter books, I've watched the movies. But I don't remember which movie it is, but the bald guy that Voldemort attaches himself to the back of his head at one point, he wears like
the turban guy? Yeah.
Like a head wrap. Anyway, he's bald though. That's kind of how I pictured Varys.
Sure.
Except it like more like the tone, like skin tone of Voldemort.
You know who I picture him to look like? I never really thought about it. I just have this picture in my head. But like not exactly, but most similarly, Rasputin from Anastasia.
That's not me.
Couldn't be me. No, it
couldn't be me.
Could be me though. It's him. That's him in my head. He's icky.
He is. Yeah, he's icky. Like I even picture him having. Gosh, I can't remember what this character, what like show or movie this character is from, but I even picture him having like really skinny teeth and like having like a black kind of like outline of his mouth, like a little bit. I don't know. He's like majorly gross in my mind.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's also, this could have been the audiobook, maybe even ruining it for me. The voice that she used to talk, when he talked, he was kind of like this. And so I even pictured him kind of like a witch.
Man. You got to stop.
Girl.
It's ruining it for you.
It's not ruining it for me. It's just like setting up characters for failure sometimes.
It's not ruining it for me. It's just destroying everything I think about them.
No, I will say the only character like straight up ruined was Taryn for me. Like Varys, you're not supposed to like him.
No.
He sucks. He's the icky. Bad guy. So like it didn't ruin it. I just pictured him maybe a little bit more like witchy.
I texted you this, but I love Varys' character because he is such a good person to hate. She wrote him so well that like right off the bat, I'm like, this guy's disgusting and I hate him. And it just keeps getting worse, which makes me, I really enjoy a good villain because when we can all unite against like, we all hate him and we really hated him. It was such a good read for me. I think that's why I really liked Iron Flame because Jack was like, he sucked, but did I truly hate him like this? No, not at all. Like I didn't like him, but not to this level.
I agree. I didn't like Varys more than I didn't like Jack, but I also still really didn't like Jack.
Yeah.
But I like that. I feel like this has more consequences because like he is in a position of power. Jack wasn't. Like Jack could have killed her.
I was gonna say
in certain situations, but like this guy's gonna like clearly by the missives that they were given that they're only he can get her left, right, and sideways. Like he's not gonna. There's way more removable pieces in this.
Yeah,
and so I agree. I do like that, and I think Rebecca did a really good job at, like you said, making us hate him, but with like very little reason. Like I know we talked about this in our A Court of Silver Flames episodes. Briallen was such a crappy villain to me because like her backstory sucked. Like, and I didn't get it. It didn't make sense why she was so angry. Like, I don't know. I understand she was mad, but the level of it just didn't make any sense. This guy comes in. We don't know anything about him, but he just hates Violet right off right from the get-go. And it worked. Like normally I think I would be like,
I added some assumptions. I assumed he was friends with General Ados, and so he knew that they were trying to basically rip down everything that they've been protecting or preserving. And so his number one enemy was Violet.
Well, okay, but like, okay, Colonel Atos, like, he is kind of acts like, I don't know, he's very obviously like passive aggressive with Violet, but he's never done any of the crap that Varys is gonna pull, and you know what I mean? Like, and I don't know, and there's just so many other people
Colonel
like in
Ados
leadership
just didn't make it personal. Like he might have,
which is
had
funny
he been around
because and it's funny though because it could have been way more personal given his history with Violet.
Right.
Like he's known her since she was born.
Yeah. Maybe she's gonna bring him back in the Empyrean.
I think it could have even been even a cooler backstory because not only would it have been really personal for how well he knew Violet, but he was also in her mom's shadow forever. He was her mom's like assistant, the equivalent of like. So that's like origin story 101 right there.
Yeah,
so,
and
I mean, maybe he does come back.
She's saving him for a villain in the next books because we do need somebody still. But Varys was really good. I really enjoyed his character.
Yeah. What did you think of the comment Colonel Atos made secrets make for poor leverage. They die with people who keep them. They die with the people who keep them.
It was good.
Again, maybe I'm a chump. I read that like 7 times and I was like, I don't understand what he's trying to say to her. Like,
really? No, it's just that like,
I don't
hey,
know.
you can't hang a secret over me if I kill you. That's all that's saying.
Yeah, but I guess I didn't get it because it felt like he has secrets. So won't they kill him? That's why I'm like, this feels dumb.
They absolutely can. He's just coming at her first.
Well, I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
I didn't get it.
Yeah.
Because of me, not because of any writing. Like, I myself didn't get it. So, but I love that literally the next page, Violet's like, Colonel Atos just threatened to kill me? Question mark. Like, so I was like, okay, thanks for explaining it. Because I was like, I have no idea what he meant by this. Like, secrets are no fun. Secrets
hurt someone.
Like, yeah, like, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Colonel Atos. Like,
no, I got it. It was all right. I wasn't like, it shivers my timbers, but I was like, it's okay.
I just really wanted to call that out because I'm hoping that, like me, there's other people out there that can either feel better about themselves because they also didn't get it, or make me feel better about myself. Be like, it's okay, sweetie.
Okay.
But I do like in this book the cadence of which
so much better.
Xaden uses violence instead of Violet I'm like, okay, this is it. Like you said in last, like, it's so subtle. It's every once in a while.
It's not her name now.
Thing he calls her.
Yes.
And it's a little bit endearing. I still don't like violence itself, but like,
you know what? This just is a good reflection of Rebecca. She learned and she grew. And we love that.
Way to go.
Yeah.
Not that I don't know. Yeah. I couldn't have done it to begin with, but agreed. Xaden is leaving.
Yeah.
For his post, and they have a really long goodbye, which I did like though, that half of it was out loud and like for show, and then half of it was telepathically.
I could not keep up with that. If that was me, I would end up being like, so you're going back to fight in the rebellion, and then be like in my mind, goodbye, love you. Like it would not, I would mess it up.
Yes, Xaden, I will miss you. Like that's exactly what I would have been like too. I wouldn't have been able to handle the ease with which they go back and forth.
No, that would take some practice. I would have to rehearse. I would be like, line.
What am I supposed to say next? That's hilarious. And then Rhiannon is the new squad lead.
We love it.
Go Riri. Love Ri.
I love her.
And then Dane was their new wing leader.
Yeah.
Whatever. Couldn't care less.
We figured that was coming. We knew it was coming.
He tried really hard. Way to go, buddy.
Yeah.
And then we got to see what the preparation for Conscription Day looked like from the inside.
Oh, so cool.
Was so much more interested in that than I thought I was going to be.
It was so cool. I love that
it was so cool.
Yes.
I know. Me too. I love that we got to see like all the prep that they did and like who got assigned
don't
to
talk
what.
to them. Like when they walked across the parapet and people were like, next, or like when they got across and they're like, name, and they had to write it down and they were just so cold. I was like, hey, what gives? Why are you such a jerk? And now I realize, from Violet's perspective, don't get close to these people because they're all going to die and you don't want to get attached and your heart hurts. And so it's like out of self-preservation, they were being so cold to them, which was so cool to read about. And not in a good way, but in a good way,
Well, in a good way for us.
In a good way for the readers. Yeah, it's fiction. It's all good.
But even before that, I like that we learn about like secret classes that we didn't know about. I don't know. I just love Rebecca's a genius. Yeah, she's a genius with how she set this up because in the book and the world she created, I like that there were so many things that like this world is very obviously fantasy. Doesn't exist, not real. But there's so many things that were so normal. Like written in that, like they go to classes. This is a college. I think like we forget that sometimes in Harry Potter they go to class like sometimes. I know, but most of it is them like these 11-year-olds fighting off monsters. Yeah, this like they're in class every day and we hear about it. And they're like normal. They feel like even the way they explain Battle Brief with how they sit and like
and
how
they
it's
ask
like
the questions.
tiered, it feels like like a college class. It feels like the classes I took when I was in English.
You know, that's so
in
funny. I
college.
have
Like,
such a clear picture of what Battle Brief, that classroom, looks like in my head,
exactly.
and where Violet and her friends sit and where Xaden stands in the
Mhm.
back. Like, a very clear picture of that room. And that's so funny that
I
I've
think it's
never seen it in real life, but when you said it, it was like I looked at it on a
because
TV
it
show.
yeah, well, because it reflects
Mhm.
normal things
Yeah.
so well. And, like, I how Xaden brought her coffee, like, in the last one.
I know,
She
you love
even,
that.
I love that, and I love she references, I can't remember if it's in the last book or if it's in this one, but at one point, she's like, "And I looked at the clock to see what time it was." They have clocks! Like, I hate when they just, like, meet me I've said this before, but I hate when in books, they're just like, "Meet me
Mhm.
here," and it's like, "Okay." It's like, "You didn't say when."
Yeah.
How do you wake up? How do you
Yeah.
know when to wake up without an alarm? How do you know, like, it just drives me nuts. Um, and so going off that, I like the idea of the RSC class,
Okay, I have something
that
to
it was
say.
both navigation, but also, like, torture. I felt like
Yes.
it was super realistic to, like,
So
train them on this.
it is actually. And how you said Rebecca's husband was in the military.
Mhm.
My husband was
Yeah.
also in the military. And so this, as I'm reading it, I was like, this sounds like, I don't know. So I asked him if I can mention this because it's all
Yeah.
secret, whatever. Um,
Government
he said if I
stuff.
say what happens in the class, I can't say the name of it. But if I say the name of it, I can't say what happens in the class. So what would you rather hear?
What happens in the class?
Okay. So, they take them randomly. Like, they know they're going for training, but they'll take them from the airport. They literally have to let the government within the surrounding area know that this training is going to be happening so that people don't call the cops and they respond to it. They'll take them, they strip them naked, they put on like clothes. They're treated like hostages and they're trained as
Yeah.
hostages to endure torture, whatever. He's been inside these tiny boxes. He's been like butt naked drinking out of a dog bowl. Like, this training's intense. And so when I'm reading this, I was like, this absolutely is this training that she's writing into the story. Like
That's
100%.
see, and so I think it's like those little things is that's what makes a great author.
Yeah.
And I think that's because these are so unrelatable,
Mm-hmm.
these stories. So when an author can make it relatable, like, granted, not everyone's been in the military, but, like, for you, for Grant, like, this would actually even hit home a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just when you can connect to the story, uh,
Yeah,
that's where I'm like, that's where Rebecca gets me. I love Sarah J. Maas. She does a really good job at that sometimes, but,
for
like,
sure.
not quite as she doesn't incorporate as many, like, normal
Yeah.
quote unquote things to
Yep.
her stories as Rebecca does. Um, oh man, that's yeah, I just loved
Yeah, it's
I
intense.
again, it's practical, like, these classes, like,
Mhm.
okay, they're going to war. These are things you would need to know. I'm glad that this is included that
For sure.
in their training.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so then Violet goes to Justinia and tests the waters on what she can get away with telling her,
Mhm.
as far as, like, she's asking for things about the wards, kind of seeing
Yes.
Justinia's reactions and all that stuff. Were you skeptical of Justinia,
Yeah,
or did you
absolutely.
think,
I wanted to
"Okay,
trust her
I'm
because I
so
like
glad."
her, but I was very skeptical and I'm like, like, it kind of bothered me about Violet actually. I know they need to expand their ring of trust, like the circle of trust with people and they need a scribe on their side if they're going to find out about the
They
wards.
need one.
But
Yeah.
I was like, who are you to just go test the waters? Like, you should be asking Imogen, asking Bodhi, hey, is this okay? And like really making sure before you just, hey, do you have anything in here about folklore or wards? Or do you want to join this revolution? So,
See, I'm glad that I'm not the only one. I'm you knew
mm-hmm,
my answer to this when I asked the question. I'm
mm-hmm.
skeptical of literally every single person that authors introduce.
Especially
Or
females. Melissa hates new female introductions.
okay, wow, no,
You
yes,
think?
but it doesn't. It does not the way that you're making it
No,
sound.
no, no, but yes.
But okay, let me just clarify here. It's because generally, when a new female character is introduced, especially as, like, a friend,
Yeah.
so a lot of times they end up being the villain. So I don't hate. I'm a girl's girl. I'm not like
Yeah. No, in
I'm,
real life,
I'm
I
not
think
out
you
to
are.
get women, but
But in
in
the
books,
books, yes.
most of them suck. So just
That's
had to put that caveat
true.
in there.
It's true.
I was so skeptical. I wanted Justinia to be on their side so much,
Mhm.
but I was like, how how cool would it be on her end if she just like, even though I would have hated if this happened, if she had been like, oh yeah, and like played along and then like turned around and was like using that information to climb the ranks. That would have sucked. But also way to go, Justinia.
No, agreed.
So then, like we were talking about earlier, it's Conscription Day.
Mm-hmm.
And she's the one taking the names before they cross the parapet. So half the people that she talks to, or maybe not half, but a good portion of them are going to die right behind her 30 seconds after. She's probably going to be the last person that all of these people talk to. Like, that's wild, honestly, to think about. Do you think that you would have done the same thing and just like not paid attention?
100%.
Like they tell her
I couldn't. I couldn't. I would bond as soon as
I would have such a hard time.
If they smiled at me and said like, "Oh, my name's Ellie." Toast.
No one's smiling on this day though. Let's clarify.
But you can be nice, you know, if you're sweet, and I would bond immediately to them. I'd be like, okay. So yeah, I would try to keep everyone at such a distance. I would try not to look at anyone and just write the names and move on.
I would have such a hard time doing that, especially I think knowing that, like I said, I'm for a good portion of these people, I'm gonna be the last person that they communicate with before they die.
Mm-hmm.
I would have a really hard time not being like, good luck, you know, like,
okay,
don't slip.
Hey,
guess what? It was raining last year for me. Glad it's not for you. Like, I don't know, making it personal.
I don't know.
Somehow.
Yeah, don't.
I'm not saying that one. I'm just saying something along the lines of relating to them.
Like, yeah. Okay, real quick. You have this question up here, and you have kind of your answer written too. So but I'm going to counter it. So I'm going to read the question and then we'll move. When Eric Greycastle shows up, you're going to ask me, did you think it was realistic that no one outside of Violet and Dane recognized him? Give me your answer first.
Okay. No, it's not realistic. Here's the thing. I mean, we don't know this right off the bat, but he's the son of the king.
Okay, stop there. Do you know if Joe Biden has kids?
Yes, Hunter Biden is one of them. I've seen his face in a lot of
his other kids.
Tabloids.
His other kids.
Okay, I'm going to counter this.
And if they walked past you in a grocery store, would you know them?
Okay. I'm going to rebuttal.
Yeah.
I think the president is the easiest example for the United States. I was picturing the like actual royal family. Kate and William's kids.
Okay,
I would recognize them. Like that's literal patriarchy right there. So I just had a hard time. Like, if I saw Charlotte, like, somewhere, I'd be like, I would absolutely at least do a double take, and I would be questioning why she's in Arizona, but I would then be like, man, that girl looks a lot like the Queen's granddaughter. Like, weird.
Okay. Yep.
So I was picturing it more of the royal family.
There, but the presidential family, I was like, immediately, I would never know any of these people.
I also think, I don't know if this is just me trying to like explain myself more. I feel like it's also different to recognize like someone who's 25 and younger versus like a 50-year-old. I feel like after you're like 40, everyone starts to look the same.
What?
So what? I don't know.
After everyone ages 40 years old, your face is all morph into the same one. No.
Tell me I'm wrong.
You're
Every
wrong.
old person looks so similar.
Oh, I don't think I've analyzed that deep enough. That really that would have been a good comment for the Uncanny Valley situation, but let's move forward.
Yeah. 40 was arbitrary, maybe a little bit older, but I'm just saying.
Sorry. Anyways. In 10 years, I'm going to look like everybody else.
Well, I just think, especially with how Violet described his eyes, like she makes it like seem like the king and his family are the only ones that have these like piercing green eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So, hello, why does this random Eric Greycastle have these piercing green eyes?
So enters in Sloane Mary.
Is it Mari? Mary?
It's probably Mari. I didn't listen.
I say Mari.
What did the reader say? Or the narrator?
She said Mari.
Okay.
It doesn't matter, but yeah, go ahead.
Do you think you would have reacted to Violet the same way that she did? Now, taken to account, she didn't know what happened. She doesn't know what's out there.
I
She
know.
doesn't know anything. She
That's
just
why
knows he killed himself basically for her. Or sacrificed himself
that's
more.
that's why I don't know if I would.
Mm-hmm.
Hear me out. I get it. He died protecting Violet,
Mm-hmm.
and that is why, and like that's all that she was told. But she had to have been told that like they were attacked or something to some degree.
Yeah.
Plus, why would he have been protecting Violet unless like she knew Xaden was involved? I think I would have been mad at
But they knew
Xaden.
they got attacked by griffins.
Well, all I'm saying is if I was Salone, I know she didn't I don't know if she knew like specifically that Xaden asked Liam to protect Violet,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I still would have been mad at Xaden either way because of all these people, Xaden's the one that me as Salone would have known the best.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one her brother trusted the most. So if he did something for someone else, especially the daughter of the general that they're supposedly hate,
That I think that's what it is
that
too,
had to
though.
have come. Well, but that had to have come from Xaden. Like, why else would he have done that?
Yeah,
Unless Xaden
but
was
the
involved.
anger for me is the easiest to understand that Xaden took, my life into account when he had all the slashes across his back. Like
I
he
guess,
saved
yeah.
me. He saved all of us. We owe him everything. It's harder to be angry at him. And this is General Sorengale's daughter, who she knows nothing about. So for me, anger would be easily placed on the person who I'm already supposed to hate.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
think in theory, it's easier to hate someone you don't know
Yeah.
than someone you do. But yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been like, oh, hey, Violet, my brother must have really liked you. Like, I wouldn't have been like, I would have for sure been irritated, but like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, especially just like how strong off the bat she came out, just
It's
guns
just
a-blazing
hard.
with
It's
her.
hard to see too because we know Violet and Liam's relationship and how
Yeah, that's
great it
true.
was. So it's really hard to be like, "Ooh, you don't get that at all." But let's
Yeah.
move on to one of my I know this is morbid, but one of my favorite parts of the first 10
Oh,
chapters because it's
my
such a
jaw
freaking twist. What
dropped.
the heck?
I know.
Go
Okay, go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh, you can do it.
Oh, all right. So I don't know about you, but I was not expecting Solas to torch the cadets in formation. So post parapet, the 71 that fell off, and now we have all the actual cadets, the first years, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my Lanta.
Where did that come from, Rebecca? Why
Okay.
did you think to write that?
Here's my hot take on that too. How in the world did Varish not get in trouble for that?
Or how did
So, like, hear me
Solas
out.
get allowed to live by all the Empyrean? Or the
So,
Empyrean circle?
okay, also that, but like, I get it. Dragons don't listen to humans.
Mm-hmm.
They live by their own rules. You can tell them what you're going to do all they want, but that's fine. But they also don't do, depending on how bonded they are, excuse me, they're not going to do anything that would put their rider in danger.
Yeah.
Like Sige or Taryn, the Violet and Xaden aren't able to, they only can see each other once a week, and they alternate who goes to see who. So, but Taryn and Sigale have never been apart for longer than 3 days up until this point. Taryn could have easily just left to see Sigale, fill that, scratch the itch, come back. You know what, like,
yeah.
I didn't mean it in the way that
No,
it sounded, but
it.
also the way that it sounded.
Yeah.
And but he didn't because the missive specifically said Taryn is allowed to leave. It didn't say Violet is allowed to leave. Like,
yeah,
if Taryn left and did that, Violet would have been punished. So he didn't because he's bonded to his writer.
right.
So there has to be rules set in place for the leadership of this college to not. This is a war college. The people call it a death factory or whatever.
Yeah.
People die all the time. I don't think having someone die wouldn't get them in trouble. But these kids were literally just standing there scared out of their minds. Like,
he torched
you're telling me when Sigale was doing all that, Xaden was like, hey, also Sigale just knows her limits and she wouldn't. But like, I don't know. If any other dragon was doing that, their writer would have been like, all right, they get it. Like,
so I
don't know.
absolutely agree, and that was horrible and morbid. One of the craziest like twists that you just didn't expect it. I love that Taryn warned Violet too. That was such a cool moment. But
yeah,
that moment where all the dragons sit up on the perch and kind of weed out those who are, this is the only reason I think Varish didn't get in trouble, is because that was the time for them to burn the scared ones. So he could easily be like, they were all unfit and they all needed to go. But it was, I don't even think they were
it's just
first
that,
years, were they? Because it was a wing. Like it was a.
Yeah, well, one of the people who died was Kieran,
Because they were
who
bonded
was one of
riders.
the
They
8.
were bonded riders. I forgot that.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
he
That's
should.
what I'm saying. I get
That's
it.
insane.
Burning the ones that started running, totally. But dragons can control where their fire goes. He didn't do it on accident. He got the ones that ran, but then also half of the third squad. Like they had so many people died that they had to shuffle around the formations after this.
It was crazy. Then Taryn came and saved the day, which was, I love Taryn. He's my favorite.
Yeah. So then after this, again, just the normal things that people do are added to this book. I loved that Violet took up running.
Yeah.
Can we just talk about that for a second? I like that it was for 2 reasons. One, like I said, it's a normal thing. A lot of people run to work out, run to do all these things. But 2, she was doing it for her training, and she chose it on her own. It's something that she didn't like to do, though, and wasn't good at it. But she knew she needed it in order to be a well-rounded writer. I just like,
I don't know.
The fact that this wasn't like someone like, okay, Imogen offering to train her to get better. That wasn't her asking. That was someone offering. Xaden training her. That was him needing her to get better. Other than like mental stuff, everything physical has been because other people have poured into her. If I'm remembering correctly, this was like the first time that she chose to do something on her own that was training related, that was going to better her. And I just feel like, and it's because she watched Soleil die because she couldn't run fast enough. So
yes, it absolutely was. I totally
just is like
agree
the
with you.
self-awareness that she has.
I don't know though that I would say this was like I agree, it was the first thing she really chose for herself to better herself, but I don't know that I would say like it was a character growth.
No, it's not
moment,
pivotal.
but it was
it's
no,
pivotal.
but it was more of like a fear-based choice, because she was like, the venin's power or whatever was absorbing and it killed whatever. So she's like, we don't need to learn how to land on the ground. We need to learn how to run and get back up off the ground when that kind of thing is happening. So it was more like, to me, how I took it is she was so scared that she would be caught in that place where Soleil was, that she like booked it as fast as she could. So then I think that's more like where I understood that the running was coming from, and why she couldn't tell Rhiannon why she was starting to run.
Well, exactly. But okay, if we're gonna, I called myself a chump earlier, but if we're gonna get real deep and psychological, aren't a lot of the decisions that we make in life based on fear?
Oh,
like,
amen.
So I'm just saying, where the decision came from isn't for me so much. It's the fact that she consciously made the choice. It just showed that she had a lot of self-awareness. I don't think this obviously wasn't like a pivotal point in the book. I don't even think it's pivotal for her training. It was the self-awareness aspect of her decision to do this that I was like, man, this is why I love Violet.
I know you do.
So then Violet not Violet, Nolan being super busy and quote run ragged is brought up a second time at this point in the book. Did that seem suspect to you?
It was so suspicious, but I could not for the life of me. I did try to figure this one out because I was like, what could he possibly be doing? Could not figure this out. And it bugged me.
I had no idea. My friend Taylor had a theory that
we need to just create a segment called Taylor's Thoughts.
TT, Taylor's Theories. Yes, or Taylor's Thoughts. She was thinking while reading this that somehow they had captured because I think Nolan would have known, captured a Venin, and they were torturing him, and then they needed Nolan to keep.
I did run that possibility.
So, but until Taylor told me that, I had literally no idea what I thought he was doing. I'm just like, man, something's up, and because I don't think it's just that people are getting hurt.
I also
but it's like the
wondered
riddle at the end of ACOTAR. I'm like,
oh yeah, what's
I've read
this
it
to
so many
say?
times.
I did
There's no
wonder
answer to
too
this.
if they like Navarre was sending out scouts of their own secretly and covertly to fight Venin and didn't want anybody to know that they were doing that, so Nolan
Could
was
be.
mending them. But
Could be. Yeah, at the time I tried so hard to like
mm-hmm.
come up and figure out. I'm like, meh, I don't know. He's doing something and he's tired. I did not like, and then okay, and back to the whole miscommunication thing. I didn't like that Violet couldn't be honest with Rhiannon.
I know.
Because
And I
it
get
was
it,
so hard. You
but
could tell. I get it. It
ugh.
was just hard. I felt like Violet reading this. Like I felt the hurt that she was feeling not being able to tell Rhi,
Yeah.
and I felt the betrayal that Rhi was feeling from. She could tell. Like
Well,
Violet's not a good liar.
it's
Like
like
she could tell
whenever
something was going
you
on.
invite or like your friends invite each other to do something and you're like kind of standing there, but like you just walked in, so you hear the last of it and realize, oh, I didn't get
Yeah,
invited to whatever it was. I feel like that's how Rhiannon must have felt over and over and over and over and over. And that would hurt
honestly,
so much. So the fact
that
that Rhiannon
sucks.
stood through the friendship and still was like, hey, I'm
Mhm.
here if you want to talk. I don't know if I would have been that good of a friend. I would have been like,
She's a better person than me.
if you
I'll
don't
say
want
it.
to talk to me, then we're done.
Yeah, I am petty as heck. I would have been like, fine.
Yeah,
Have
exactly.
fun.
Must be
Find
nice
someone else
being a
to
real
wrap
friend.
your knee.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she's so much nicer than me.
Yeah.
But this chapter ends with Nadine getting her neck snapped because she was pretending to be Violet.
That was so out of pocket, Rebecca. What the heck?
Another jaw drop as I'm reading this, just like, wow, did
And it was
not see
the
that
playful
coming.
like, yeah, I'm Violet, just
Look at my purple hair. Yeah, and then that's like where the chapter ends. The end.
crazy.
I'm like, so then Violet's fighting this guy, and then right before she kills him, he whispers, "Secrets die with the people who keep them,"
so you know who it came
referencing
from.
Atos, so trying to kill her. And that at that point, because they specifically called out that Kieran was one of the people who died when Solas torched that, like, all those people. Kieran was one of the 8 that was still alive of the people who were in Athbean. And then they're trying to kill Violet now. I'm like, okay, I didn't see this happening, but they're trying to kill all 8 of them that came back.
Yeah.
And it's like one by one, they're just gonna get taken. And so then I got nervous. I knew Violet wasn't gonna die. It couldn't happen.
But you get nervous for the other side characters you love.
Wait, and I didn't think that Imogen would die, but I'm like, you know what? We don't.
You don't
know enough about her.
Or Bodhi.
Really? So
I love Bodhi too.
I know.
And Garrick.
I just got so nervous for all these people. Garrick is with Zayden. He graduated.
Oh yeah. You right.
He's with Zayden.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm like, oh no. Like right then when that happened, I like all their lives flashed before my eyes because I'm like, oh crap, this is the direction we're heading in.
I know.
Another side note though, I love the balance between action and romance in these books.
It's very good.
It is perfect because I know we've talked about it before. In some of the ACOTAR books, it leans a little bit more heavy on like the fighting, and some leans a little bit more heavy on the romance. And I tend to just, if I had to pick one, I'm gonna lean towards romance. But I do appreciate both, and these books just did it for me. It was like enough action to keep me entertained, but enough romance to keep me invested.
Yeah. I read a quote that someone had jotted down from a Brandon Sanderson conference, and I don't know if you know who he is. He's like a legend when it comes to writing fantasy. So but the quote was that like when you're writing fantasy, you want to write the whole plot around the action and the war and like the fighting, like the main story, and then write the romance into it, and that will but like tie it in, tastefully, and that will keep the story like spicy and interesting and all that.
And I feel like that's what Rebecca does.
She did well. Yes.
Did you think that Sloane would have been a better fighter though?
Yes, that was so embarrassing to read.
I was not expecting her to suck.
She sucked. Bless her heart.
Especially, and then I was like, oh, and I mean, I think Violet even says this too, like, great. Like, yeah. I have to protect her life, and it's going to be so much harder now.
I know. And I bless Violet's heart too, because I'm like, I would leave her to her own defenses because that's a lot of work in addition to everything else you have to do.
I don't know. I would feel so guilty. I wouldn't have left her to her own devices or anything.
Liam's sister, but it's such a conflict because Liam's sister doesn't like you and she's rude. So I don't know.
Yeah, but Violet understands, and I think that's. And I mean, even though I don't know if I would have reacted like that, I understand. So like,
yeah.
I don't know. Reading the book from Violet's perspective, mostly, like, I get it. I don't know. I think I would have tried to do the same thing. I don't know.
Maybe we would have outsourced some help, like how Violet did with Imogen. Like, hey, help her out. Yeah. I don't think I would have. There's a lot going on. Yeah. There's a lot going on as Violet in this year. It's maybe too much on my plate.
The year of Violet.
Yeah.
And then Xaden comes back, and honestly, they have, in my opinion, a fairly boring conversation where it just goes back and forth, and he says, well, you need to ask me questions. You're not asking me the quite questions.
I know, it was redundant.
Whatever. But then he writes her a letter, and she notices that after he leaves.
Oh,
back to the again.
What I love about this, the letters, is that we're not getting the full letter, but we get the clips in the notes above in the chapters.
Beginning of the little quotes,
and
at the beginning of each chapter.
There are things like I thought, Xaden wouldn't get that deep, but he talks about his childhood, what makes him vulnerable, things like that. And they're just the one sentence little clips from Lieutenant Rierson's letter to Violet. It was so sweet and so well done, Rebecca. Chef's kiss again. That's a good touch.
Oh man. And then that's where we end for today. Man, I
like doing 10 chapters.
I like doing 10 chapters too. I knew that we would still be able to talk for a while, but I didn't think this episode would be longer than our other episodes
because we got talking about more time for the details.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, I hope you guys liked it. Let us know if you have any thoughts, concerns.
Yeah. And again, leave a review. We'd love it.
Yeah. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Excited to keep talking about Fourth Wing with you all. Fourth Wing, Iron Flame. Big Empyrean fan over here, and I'm counting the days until December 2024 when this next book comes out.
395.
Thank you. Is there really that? Oh yeah.
No, actually 365 if it comes out December 1st.
Yeah, that's what I was like. Oh, well, true. I don't know what day in December. Anyways, have a great rest of your week. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. See you
You're
guys.
Awesome.
Bye.